What's good? It's your boy CJ Goodfella back with the boxing clinic. Shout out to the LDBC one time for the one time, and everybody hopefully enjoys their 4th of July tomorrow. Don't eat too much and don't blow your hand off. Basically, come back safe. But let's talk about first. Let's talk about the topic of discussion first. Let's just talk about the topic as far as did Bob Arum sacrifice Manny Pacquiao and cash that ass out. Okay, a lot of people are saying that. And before I get into that, all y'all motherfuckers out there that was defending Top Rank, defending Bob Arum, defending Oscar De La Hoya, defending those clowns right there, both of them, or anybody that's in that class, and y'all are so down on Al Haymon. Y'all just hate Al Haymon for no apparent reason. A guy that was the pioneer of ushering in free boxing on PBC. Kathy Dufour Man Events, you throw they ass in there too. You have never heard a disgruntled, managed or advised, whatever you want to call it, Al Haymon boxer. You never heard of this shit. Him cashing them out, sacrificing them. Even if it's not true in this instance, Bob Arum has a motherfucking history of sketchy ass fucking promoting as well. You don't get that from Al Haymon. He might not always give you guys the best fight. Neither does fucking the rest of them. They give you a lot of shitty fights as well. But at least he don't make you pay for them most of the time. He don't give you that bullshit. You don't sacrifice the fight. You don't hear any of his fighters being disgruntled. You might have heard about Vanes Margirosian leaving, but he got Vanes Margirosian a title shot versus, Erislandy Laura when he couldn't even get one before. And Bob Arum gave up on him before. You heard Donna Stevenson talking about, about he was disgruntled about fighting Sean Mahogan, whatever the fuck his name is. Other than that, he's been paid handsomely. He haven't heard Al, talking about, oh, I hate Al Haymon or shit like that. Everybody Antonio Tarver going broke, but that's Antonio Tarver's fault. Most of these guys are wealthy and paid well, and when Paul Williams got into his motorcycle accident, Al Haymon looked out for him. I'm pretty sure. Danny Jacobs, when he found out he had cancer, he said Al Haymon stuck by me. He said whatever you need, he took care of him. And at the same time, he cares about his boxers, and that's why people roll with him. Bob Arum, all the money and the millions that Manny Pacquiao made him over the years, he stumbled up on Manny Pacquiao as a gold mine. He wasn't a guy that was highly talented coming out the amateurs or coming out the Philippines. He's a guy that had a lot of talent that had been stopped a couple times because he wasn't being trained right, He wasn't eating right. He didn't have all the accessible things he needed to be successful. But once he came to America and eventually, teamed up with Freddie Roach, he was a gold mine. I think he fought with Golden Boy for a while, or was about to sign with Golden Boy or something like that. And then, Top Rank ended up scooping him up. And how Bob Arum rolls is this. If you're not familiar with it, he's a very dirty and shrewd businessman, which you have to be sometimes. That's not really a derogatory term, really, but you have to be able to get your hands dirty. And what he does is this: he used Manny Pacquiao to get Tim Bradley over there. He promised Tim Bradley a Manny Pacquiao fight somewhere down the road if he continues to win. He got it, but when he promised a Manny Pacquiao fight, you have to sign a long-term pact with him. And the same thing he tried to do with Mikey Garcia, Chavez Jr. He tried to put those guys in lose-lose situations and put them in Yuriel Gamboa with Brandon Rios. He tried to put those guys in lose-lose situations. And when a fighter doesn't agree to fight, when they're on their last fight with their contract, either, if you don't want to fight Bob Arum, if you don't want to sign that contract to extend your pact with Top Rank, for example, like Chavez Jr., he was down to his last fight. He wanted Chavez Jr. to sign for 3 or 4 more fights, whatever it is, and then he can get the fight that he wanted. If he didn't want to sign for it, he was trying to put him on the shelf or put him in a fight that he was going to lose, so he didn't have any value when he hit the market. Same thing with Mikey Garcia, same thing with Gamboa, Mikey Garcia and Gamboa, same thing with Gamboa and Brandon Rios. You see what I'm saying now? And that's his game. When your contract is up, now if you ain't worth nothing, he'll cut and release you. But if you're worth something, he wants to extend your contract or put you in a lose-lose situation when he wants to leave. That's the reason Floyd Mayweather had to pay the price, all the money he had to pay to get out. Thanks to Al Haymon, he was able to maneuver his way out the contract and pay a couple million and get out the contract. Mikey Garcia, he got set on the shelf and had to go through a bunch of court dates, 2 or 3 years, till he got to do his thing. So it's not out the question of realm ability that this guy sacrificed Manny Pacquiao, and it's apparent that he did. When Manny Pacquiao chose not to fight Terence Crawford, and he kept beating around the bush, and Bob Arum wanted to fight Terence Crawford, and Michael Collins and Freddie Roach and all them danced around the situation. Well, Bob Arum found a different way to transfer the torch. Instead of Pacquiao just going ahead and fighting Terence Crawford and taking his L like a man, he put him in with Jeff Horn. I never heard of a side going to a whole nother country, that he's foreign to go over to Brisbane, to Australia, which no fucking major, fighter in America, that prominently fights in America ever went to a country like Australia to break ground and fight a virtual unknown Jeff Horn. It was meant for, Pacquiao to lose that fight, to transfer the torch to Jeff Horn, so eventually Terence Crawford can take that torch. Period. And that's all it is. And I wouldn't be surprised if Manny Pacquiao chose to retire because his wife wants to talk him into retirement. I wouldn't be surprised if Bob Arum gave him some millions to retire. But the question is, financially, can he retire? Is he okay financially? Because we heard the rumors about him filing, almost filing for bankruptcy. Mayweather talking about his money in his contract wasn't right with Bob Arum. And he said he knows because Bob Arum did him the same way. And we seen once he left Bob Arum, Floyd Mayweather got busted for taxes. He wasn't paying his taxes, all that stuff, and that doesn't happen with Al Hammond. You make sure you on point. And we don't know financially can Manny Pacquiao retire. I know people want to cry and say, well, you made all these millions. Well, we've seen it before. A lot of people made a lot of money and can't drive around the corner right now because they mishandled their funds where they was getting fucked in the ass. No homo. And we heard Bob Arum was really banging Manny Pacquiao, getting him advances and taxing him on each dollar that he's giving the advances for in between fights because he needs means to live. But that's a story for another day. But there's no question in my mind that Bob Arum cashed out Manny Pacquiao because he failed to want to pass the torch and fight Terence Crawford. That's as simple as a bit. He wasn't passing the torch to Keith Thurman. He wasn't passing the torch to Errol Spence because Bob Arum couldn't get options on those fights. No way that an Al Hammond fighter was signing on if he beats Manny Pacquiao for a rematch clause, whatever, to have Bob Arum have options on there. And that's why Bob Arum doesn't like to work with Al Hammond because his fighters are not going for that shit. And it is what it is. And he knows Terence Crawford is his fighter. He's an in-house promoter. He wants to make money and keep it all in his pocket.